We do start with breaking news out of Highlands Ranch. 2 people have been taken to the hospital after what we're told is a hit-and-run crash on Wildcat Reserve Parkway. It happened near a trail. This is just west of MacArthur Ranch Road. You're looking at a live look right now from that area. You can see the police presence, the police tape. Also, we are waiting to hear what exactly happened, but we do know that driver who allegedly drove off has been arrested. We'll have more details on air and online when we get them. Well, thanks for joining us at 9 News at Noon. I'm Sam Shocker. Former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters is now out of prison after a controversial commutation from Governor Polis. The Republican was released this morning, just 1 year into her 9-year sentence for helping someone access the county voting system in search of voter fraud. 9 News reporter Shalima Maharaj has more from outside the state prison in Pueblo.
Well, this is where Tina Peters had been serving her sentence until sometime this morning. Not long ago, Department of Corrections officials walked across the front lawn and handed us a note, one that said that she had been released from custody. Now, what time this happened at, whether she was released from this facility or taken somewhere else, they are not answering that question right now. Peters was convicted for her role in allowing unauthorized access to her county's election equipment over false claims of election rigging. Now, Governor Polis has faced fierce scrutiny from fellow Democrats since granting Peters clemency. The party censured the governor because of his actions. Here's what he told 9 News back in March.
And to be clear, she deserved to go to jail. She committed a crime. What's at issue here is how long the sentence is. And I agree with the appeals court that in the sentencing hearing, the judge incorrectly looked at and considered her bizarre viewpoints, her speech, and held her speech against her.
Now, that was Polis being interviewed on Next with Kyle Clark. A couple of days ago, a federal judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. Kyle recently sat down with Representative Lauren Boebert and asked whether Tina Peters should be eligible for a payout from the feds.
Should Tina Peters get a check?
So this is a federal fund for federal charges.
Right, and she wasn't prosecuted by the feds, but
Correct.
You've got Vice President Vance out there saying that she's like the poster child for the fund. She wasn't prosecuted by the feds.
I think that Colorado should make it that right, because Tina Peters' life has been ruined by the time that she has served. And I'm so grateful to Governor Polis for commuting her sentence and reducing that time.
Our team will continue to follow this story throughout the day. In the meantime, Tina Peters is a free woman. In Pueblo, Shalima Maharaj, 9 News.
Shalima, thank you. The jury now has the case of a former Mountain View town council member accused of shooting a teenager in the face near his property in Conifer. Today, his attorneys and prosecutors gave their final pitch to the jury before the judge sent them away to deliberate. 9 News reporter Steve Stager was in the courtroom as the closings were given. He joins us live now with the details. Steve, what have you learned?
Well, Sam, neither side in this case disagrees that it was Brett Metz's gun that went off, fired a shot inside these teenagers' car and hit one of those teenagers in the face. What's at dispute here is whether that was a reckless act or it was an unavoidable accident. Now, Brett Metz is accused of shooting a teenager in the face in the fall of 2024. The victim says he and his friend were on that property searching for a spot to take homecoming photos, but by the time Metz confronted them, they were off the property. Metz took the stand on Friday in his own defense, claiming that the shooting was an accident and his gun accidentally went off, and he was transferring it from his truck holster to his hip holster with the bullet hitting the teen. His attorneys argue that the gun, a Sig Sauer P320, has a documented history of accidental misfires, but prosecutors argue Metz acted recklessly, grabbing that gun and pointing it in the direction of those teens.
And going back to what Luke said, despite the fact that he's consistent about exactly what happened for 2 years straight, that he got out of the car, he pulled the gun as soon as Jack opened the car and he shot, never once did Luke ever say, that guy tripped getting out of the car.
Everybody outside of this courtroom knows that P320 is a train wreck, just like what Mr. Wilkes told you. It's a train wreck waiting to happen, and it happened to this man. It happened to those 2 boys as well.
Now, the jury of 11 women and 1 man got this case around 10:30 this morning after they heard 3 full days of testimony, including testimony from the 2 teenagers and from Metz himself. Metz is facing charges of second-degree assault, felony menacing, and illegal discharge of a firearm. We're live in Golden. Steve Stager, 9 News.
And Steve, I just have to ask you, since you were in the courtroom and you've been covering this, what is, I've covered hearings before and there's always like an energy in there. Does it feel somber? Does it feel anxious? What have you learned, or felt rather?
Kind of mid-range. Watching the jury, they were, very attentive during the prosecution, and also attentive at points during the defense's closing argument. Though I did notice a couple of jurors kind of looking away and kind of looking off during that closing argument. There's a lot at stake here, and it's a very interesting case. It's not very often you have both sides agree that something happened. It's just different perspectives of what happened, and so it'll be interesting to see how the jury takes this in. I try not to guess what happens with juries, right? I've only witnessed one day of testimony in this case, but you think they have a significant amount of time to go through, meet each other, discuss, probably take an initial vote where they think things are. If there's some disagreements in the room, then that's when the discussions and the deliberations start. So it could be a relatively long afternoon. It could be a short afternoon. Right. It's lunchtime. A lot of juries tend to get lunch and then make decisions after lunch, so we shall see.
We shall see. Steve Stager, thank you. 1 year ago today, anti-Semitic firebombing attack in Boulder killed 1 person and hurt more than a dozen others. The attack happened on Pearl Street and targeted a group of demonstrators who were calling attention to Israeli hostages held in Gaza. The attacker, Mohammed Salomon, was sentenced to life in prison earlier this month for the state charges he faced. But he also faces federal hate crime charges and is still awaiting that trial. Well, now to the severe storm chances that we have today. It looks, well, okay, we got blue skies, but it does look a little ominous and gloomy. So let's get to the forecast with meteorologist Jaden Knowles. Jaden, and you also mentioned sometimes with the sun, I see you in the 9 News backyard, that's almost feeding this afternoon storm.
That's exactly what it's doing, Sam. That's one of the main reasons why we are already forecasting some severe weather, mainly across the I-25 corridor and on towards the east. And because we saw lots of sunshine early on, it already primed the atmosphere for severe weather. So first, let's go ahead and break down what we're seeing so far right now. Temperatures are pretty warm. We're in the upper 70s. I'm forecasting the low 80s for this afternoon, but there's your severe thunderstorm risk. Noticing level 2 risk, including the I-25 corridor, especially over towards the eastern plains. You also have that level 1 risk, mainly for the foothills. Now, storms are expected to start to develop really between 2 and 8 p.m. this evening. Noticing live radar, you're probably wondering, we're not going to have any weather right now. We're just seeing lots of sunshine, but all that's going to change once we head into the latter parts of this afternoon. We did see some isolated showers early on this morning, but we're all dry as of right now. My forecast calls for 80 degrees, but of course we have that chance for some severe weather. We're going to time it out for you, as well as tell you the hazards only in my full forecast. Sam?